Hey folks, welcome back to another video. So I'm a tinkerer. I really enjoy changing things, testing things out, seeing if things work better for me, and that's what I'm gonna do today. I'm gonna tinker with this Mossberg 590 here with synthetic or polymer furniture. What I wanna do is shorten the length of pole on this, and I'm also gonna install a new recoil pad. If you're just looking to see how others do things, awesome. If you are going to follow along, know that stocks can vary, action types vary, things, mechanics and parts in the stock can vary, so take that into consideration if you are looking to do something similar. The length of pull is the distance from your face of your trigger to the surface that touches your shoulder. This length of pull is about 14.25. I want my length of pull to be anywhere from 13.25 to 13.5. You have to take into consideration the thickness of your recoil pad. So mine is about an inch thick. So I would make my cut at 12.25 to 12.5. Measure twice just to make sure. It's a lot easier to take material off than it is to put it back. Yeah, roughly 12.25 to 12.5 is where I'm going to make my cuts. And then my inch recoil pad would add an inch to that, anywhere from 13.25 to 13.5 would be my end length of pull. I have this window here, so I'm going to make this my first cut, this 12.5, and that way if I need to clean up edges or anything, I have this space here to do that. Kind of gives me some room for error, if you will. So now that you've got your marks, you can remove your recoil pad and then your stock. Get your bolt out, and you're now ready to cut. A little note first, a lot of synthetic stocks have these rails in there that run for a good portion of the stock, just to accommodate if you want to shorten the length of pull. It gives you something to screw a recoil pad or butt plate onto. Another thing I wanted to mention was some stocks don't have a 90-degree angle here from the back to the top or the comb. They can be off of 90 slightly. Comes down to personal preference, what works best for you, all kinds of things. I typically just cut at 90 degrees, and I use a miter saw, so it makes it easy to just chop right down through it at 90 degrees. If you have, I've seen all types of saws used for this, coping saw, a hack saw, a band saw, a scroll saw, a jigsaw, whatever. You can pretty much make this work with whatever saw you have access to. So the grip tends to run into that piece there. So to separate it, I'll just put up a block of wood that maintains my 90 degrees and makes it so I get that nice cut. On the first pass, the blade tends to melt a lot and not give a super clean cut. As you can see, it leaves a lot of fray and melted polymer plastic. So to clean that up, I press the stock up against the stop blade, lift it, and then go through. That seems to shave off a fraction of an inch at a time. I'll do that a couple times just to clean up the edge, and just a couple passes is all it usually seems to take. Okay, so we got that cut where we want it, maintained 90 degrees, stayed within my window that I wanted. Took a couple little slight passes to get it nice and cleaned up. And if you want, you could go at it with, put some sandpaper down on a flat surface and really clean those edges up. Now, to install a recoil pad, there's 1,000,001 different videos on YouTube on how to do this. I'll briefly show you how I do it. Works with synthetic or wood stocks. But you will take your recoil pad, a piece of paper, and a crayon. Set your recoil pad down, set your piece of paper on top of it, and using a broad edge of the crayon, you now have an exact imprint of what the base of your recoil pad looks like. In the middle of those drill holes where your screws are going to go, draw a little dot, punch a hole in there, and bore it out just a little bit. You now have holes exactly where you want your screws to go. You'll then take that piece of paper, you'll lay it on the drawn side down. Doesn't probably really matter, but I don't know. I just try to be exact in the things that I do, because your recoil pad doesn't sit on there like that. It sits on there like that. Take your holes, you'll line up the top one where you want it. I just have a little punch. So I'll hold that there, and I'll just make a pencil mark. So as long as I have a mark that I can see, I can now go to the middle and then put a divot right there. And then that'll give me where I'm going to drill my pilot holes. All right, a couple things before I get ready to drill this pilot hole. I like to chalk up a level on my stock and a level also on my drill. I just tape them on there on flat surfaces. You're probably thinking that's overkill, but I don't know. I just like to get things as accurate and as straight as I can. It saves trouble in the future. Also, you only need to drill so far, right? So that's why I put the tape on the bit. I'll go ahead and drill these pilot holes. So this is level. As I drill, I can see left or right, and then I'll just kind of watch the level and maintain up or down. I'll now jump up to a bit that is just barely smaller than my screws. So that way the only thing that'll bite in there is the thread on the screws. Holes are drilled, and I just went with the bit size that came with the instructions on this recoil pad. It said an 1/8 inch bit, so that's what I used. So I push the screws through my recoil pad now, and we will go ahead and install it. I'm actually going to try. I've never done the dish soap thing. These Pachmayr recoil pads cut a little slit in there to push your screws through. This screwdriver is a pretty tight fit in there. It's kind of hard to turn. So I'm going to try the dish soap method as we put it on there. That makes it pretty nice, I'm not gonna lie. Looks good. We're done. So now we need to trim our recoil pad, right? It's obviously too big on all sides, but generally pretty centered. Looks like we did a pretty good job. Pretty even. But now it needs to be trimmed. A couple different ways a recoil pad can be trimmed. If you have no issues with scuffing up the stock, if you're refinishing it or going to sand it, you can just go to town with it on the stock. By hand, manually, an electric hand sander, anything you want. I have in the past done it by hand on a already finished stock. What I did in that case was you would take some masking tape of some sort, and I went a couple layers, just about 2 layers thick. You would line it up on the stock, and then you have to get real precise seeing what you're doing, and you can get it to generally pretty flush within, you know, the thickness layer of tape, 2 layers of tape, which gets it pretty close if you don't have any desire to refinish the stock or scuff it all up. And like I said, there's 1,000,001 videos on YouTube on how to install recoil pads. The way that I'm doing it is just one of many. Okay, I got my nail scribe. I'm then going to throw it in this recoil pad installation fixture, and this will be used along with a square to match the angles, 90 degrees, and then it'll match the toe angle here as well. I'm going to throw a little chalk in my line, so it's going to be easier to see. And now we'll go start grinding it down. While I'm grinding that recoil pad, I just wanted to pop in and say a couple things. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate you. And I now have a couple options available if you would like to help support or donate to this channel. The first of which is going to be the thanks button down below amongst all those other buttons that you get down there. That is hosted by YouTube, and they give you a couple different donation choices, and you get an associated highlighted comment with that donation. The other option is through PayPal. I'll have a link down below in the description, on my banner photo on my channel page, in the about section on my channel page, plenty of places to find it. And with that one, there is no account required for single donations. I hate setting up accounts just as much as anyone else. So yeah, no account required for single donations, and obviously no obligation to do any of this stuff. I'm just letting you know, getting it out there. I'm gonna continue to do me and my stuff regardless. But if you are in a position to do so and you want to, I couldn't thank you enough. It'll go to help production value and quality, materials, just different resources, all the little things that add up when you're making videos. And with all that being said, I'm probably just about done with that recoil pad, so let's get back to it. All right, so I just got it out of the jig here. This jig works pretty good, does what I need it to. There is one that Brownells sells that I would really like to try. Seems to flow a little better, but this one works just fine. Link in the description if you're looking to pick one of those up. Just wanted to give you a view of what it looks like in kind of rough form right now. I will go take down some of these corners on the rubber, polish it out a little bit, and I'll show you what it looks like when I get back. All right, well, I actually just kind of freehanded it on the belt sander. Blended that in pretty nice. Rounded the corners a little bit. And I will now reattach it. Well, there you have it. This length of pole has been successfully shortened to 13 3/8. So just under 13 and a half. And it feels pretty good. About right where I want it. You may be asking yourself though, why did he go with an old school looking brown and white line recoil pad on black synthetic or polymer furniture? I've got some ideas that I want to try and tinker with this stock. So the answer to that question, you'll have to find out next time. If you think I earned it, I'd appreciate a like, a share, a subscribe. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one.